Hello friends, welcome to the Cold War Prepper. This is Lee. I'm going to talk a little bit about emergency action messages. Much ado about nothing in my opinion, but I'll give you some explanations around it, a little bit of information about it. So how do I know about this? Well, to be honest with you, it's classified. I don't know that much because it is classified. I mean, I had some good clearances, but never had a need to know about these. So this is all going to be conjecture. And I want to be upfront about that. Anybody who tells you it's anything other than conjecture is lying to you, because if they divulge what it really is, it's classified information. So this is going to be best guess theory. Now, what do I use as a best guess? Well, first off, let me start off with my ham call sign is Kilo Juliet 5 Hotel Echo Foxtrot. And then I started out in October 13th to be exact, 1970. I started out in the U.S. military as a 98 Bravo. So if you look up the Vietnam era MOS, military occupational specialties, a 98 Bravo is a cryptanalytic technician, better known as a code breaker. So I spent my first 4 years as a code breaker, and then they did away with that MOS, and they made me a 98 Charlie T9, which basically was a 98 Bravo. I re-enlisted for Russian language school, went back to DLI for a second language, Russian language, and I spent a year there, 47 weeks, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, so that I could become a 98 Gulf Russian, which is a Russian voice intercept operator. So I spent the next 3 years listening to the Russians on the radio. Oh, by the way, just in case you're listening, Smokey, Larry, Cookie, 3 of the best 98 Bravos I know. Thank you for your tutelage, for training me, for taking me under your wings and teaching me. I mean, those are 3 of the best that there are out there. Cookie and I are still friends on Facebook. Smokey retired and went back to Alabama. And I haven't seen Larry, gosh, since Field Station Augsburg, I guess 1980. But man, Larry, I'd love to see you. Anyhow, so I became a 98 Gulf Russian, a voice intercept operator. So I'm used to intercepting things, listening to things, although I will tell you, it is strange copying down English instead of Russian, even after all this time that I've been retired. Then in 1984, I became a 352 Charlie, which is a signals intelligence traffic analysis technician, which is reporting, analysis, and targeting for electronic warfare and signals intelligence. And I did that for 7 years. So what we're going to be talking about today is kind of traffic analysis. That's looking at the message externals. Cryptanalysis looks at the internals. Traffic analysis looks at the externals. So frequency, call signs, the contents without breaking the codes themselves. So that's what I'm going to be doing for you here. And this is based off of a whole bunch of other people. I would like to refer you to a fantastic channel called Neat Intel, NEETINTEL, on YouTube. They do a bang-up job monitoring the high-frequency global communication system, HFGCS. So EAM is part of the high-frequency global communication system. The high-frequency global communication system is part of the global communication system. So HF is not the only way that they communicate. They can communicate EHF, SHF, UHF, which is basically 300 to 3,000 megahertz, VHF, which is 30 to 300 megahertz, HF, which is what we're going to be focused on here, which is 3 to 30 megahertz. It's primarily going to be amplitude modulated, which is single sideband. So they suppress one sideband and the carrier wave and just transmit one sideband. In case you want to listen to it on your HF receiver there at the house. And the frequencies, by the way, if you want to listen to them, are 11175 kilohertz, 8992 kilohertz, 4724 kilohertz, 6712 kilohertz, 6739 kilohertz, 13200 kilohertz, 15016 kilohertz. So those are the frequencies you can listen to on HF, high frequency. So it is part of the Strategic Nuclear Weapon Command and Control System. Basically, it originates out of the National Command Center, National Military Command Center, NMCC. That is the Pentagon. Alternatively, it can go to Site Romeo, Site R, Raven Rock. It can also go to Offutt Air Force Base, which is STRATCOM, Strategic Command. It can also originate out of Cheyenne Mountain, which is NORAD. So, those can be your originating stations. And then it's sent In the case that we're going to be talking about here, the HF system, it can be transmitted to an aircraft aloft. And that can either be an Air Force E-4B Night Watch or a U.S. Navy E-6A Mercury. Now, the E-6A Mercury, when it flies, is also called Tacoma, or Tacamo. And Tacamo is kind of an acronym for take charge and move out. So once the Tacamo message is sent down to the submarines and they receive it, they have their independently pre-planned engagement scenarios that are going to be in accordance with the codes that are transmitted, and then they'll do their own thing. What did I say? Stratcom at Offutt Air Force Base in Omaha, Nebraska. And, and the submarines can also get it by very low frequency, which is basically a several mile long antenna that's out into the Atlantic Ocean from Maine and out into the Pacific Ocean from Washington, so that they use basically the waters, the salt waters of the oceans, as an antenna to transmit those. So in an emergency action message, there's actually 3 different kinds of messages, and we don't know which is which except for one. It's difficult to tell. There's the emergency action message, there's the force deployment message, and there's the Foxtrot message, or Foxtrot Bow Test, also called the Sky King message. We know that the Sky King message, the Foxtrot message, is the highest priority, and so that's going to be flash. So the 4 priorities in military communications are routine, which is R, priority, which is P, then above that is immediate, which is O, and that stands for operations immediate, and then flash, which is Z. So those are your 4 standard precedence indicators. And the Foxtrot message will be flash precedence. But the EAMs, the FDMs, and the Foxtrot messages are all highly structured, self-authenticating messages, primarily dealing with the command and control of our nuclear forces. Typically, you're going to see a 6-character preamble. That'll be said 3 times. And then it'll be said as the first group of, and typically it's going to be a 30-character message sent in 5 6-character groups. As a Crippy, it's always intrigued me that it's a multiple of 3 because most of our simple substitution systems, one-time pads, are trigraphic, which means that they're 3-digit or 3-character. And so I kind of had a feeling it was a trigraph. And then there was a lady on Rare Coin, a female operator, and instead of retransmitting a 30-character message, she transmitted a message of 10 groups. So 30 characters divided by 10 is 3-character groups. So that kind of confirmed my suspicion that everything is actually 3-character groups. I believe, personally, okay, so let's take a look at just one of them. This is at 11:15 Zulu, Rare Coin sent Alpha Romeo Quebec, Yankee Uniform Hotel. And they said that 3 times, then this becomes Alpha 1, or the first group of the 5-group message. And so I believe, the personal belief, you don't have to buy this. I mean, you can take it for what it's worth. I believe the ARQ is page row column of the code book that they're using to encrypt. And then Yankee Uniform Hotel is the first ciphertext. Then they are going to begin enciphering with the next text that follows the Yankee Uniform Hotel. That's just my suspicion. I have no way to verify that. I want to be upfront about that. Had not that female operator said 10 groups, which means 3-character groups, I wouldn't feel as confident in sharing that with you as I am now. But anyhow, we know that we can't tell the difference between an FDM and an EAM. So just saying that one is one and one is the other is speculation on anybody's part. We really don't know. There are some guys who do this as a hobby, who have been doing this for decades, and they have some really good channels. And I'd strongly recommend that you follow them, that they have some really good guesses. And like I said, until we get confirmation, they are guesses, but I think they are fairly wise and probably pretty spot on to what they believe. But anyhow, these are self-structured, or self-authenticating, highly structured messages. So they can be a change in Defcon. Now, I will tell you, as an MI officer who served as a field duty officer at the brigade level, and brigade's pretty high level, and I also worked at the Corps level when I was at 7th Corps in Stuttgart. Even Corps commanders don't have access to the Defcon. Defcon is only for our strategic forces, and so anybody who tells you they know what the Defcon is lying to you. I mean, I did not have access to Defcon when I was at Fort Huachuca at the MI headquarters. I did not have access to Defcon when I was at 7th Corps headquarters in Germany, which in 7th Corps, of course, had 2 divisions and all its ancillary units. So I was in the 207th Military Intelligence Brigade, which supported 7th Corps. But anyhow, let's take a look at the 5 DEFCON conditions. So the bottom one, and I'm going to put these in a vernacular for you so you get an idea of how to translate them. So DEFCON 5 means that all the B-52 pilots are at home having hamburgers and Coca-Colas in the backyard with their kids. Everything is normal. DEFCON 4, we're now going to put them on alert. So they can't have a beer. They can have a Coke, but they can't have a beer. They got to stay alert. They're at home. They're on call. They can't be called in. Okay. DEFCON 3, they've been called in. They're sitting in the ready room. Okay. So now they've got all their gear on. They're sitting in the ready room. They've been briefed. They're just sitting there playing checkers or penny a point spades or something like that, watching TV, drinking coffee, doing whatever they need to do. But they can get on those trucks and get out to their B-52s within minutes. Okay. DEFCON 2, they are sitting in the B-52. So everybody's sitting there. They've got their equipment in. They're strapped in. They're ready to go. The engines are not running. The ground crew is there. They've got everything. They got the fire extinguishers and everything else ready to start up the engines. By the way, in case you don't know it, they use a 40-millimeter grenade to emergency start the engines on a B-52 to get that turbine turning. That's really something to watch that blow and then start turning the turbine. And then cocked pistol, which is DEFCON 1, means that those B-52s are sitting there on the ramp, engines running, everybody's strapped in, they're ready to go. They're just waiting for the takeoff orders, and they've already got their orders. So that's the difference among the 5 levels of DEFCON. So should you worry whether the B-52 pilots are sitting in the ready room or sitting in the cockpit? In my opinion, no. Don't worry about it. That's just one more thing that you don't need in your life that you don't need to worry about. So let's talk about that one channel, where they always have the red emergency alert. I think he's unnecessarily scaring people. I told him that. He said, well, if you don't like the way I do things, don't watch my channel. So I don't watch his channel anymore. I'm going to give you 2 specific examples. On this example, he had people up in a tizzy. He said that there were over 40 EAMs passed that day. And people were really upset because they thought that quantity meant something. I'm going to put this in terms of Thanksgiving. So Mom called me. She said, hey, Lee, I don't have any masla. I'm going to go run to the store. So if you come over before I get here and anybody's looking for them, just tell them I went to the store looking for masla. So we've had our first masla message. And I said, okay. I said, do you want me to look for some? She said, yeah, if you could go to the other store and look for it, that would be great. So I go to the other store and I find it. So I call Mom. She's not answering her phone. Maybe it's interference inside the store. So I leave her a voicemail. I say, hey, Mom, I found masla. Don't worry about it. So that's the second time we've had a masla message. So Dad calls and says, hey, do you know where your mom is? I said, yeah, she's at the store looking for masla. That's the 3rd time. But if she calls you, tell her, just come on home. Don't worry about it. I found it. So I've got masla here at this store. That's the 4th message we've had about masla. So Dad says, okay, that's great. I'll let her know. So he calls her and leaves a voicemail on her phone. Hey, come on home. Lee found masla at the other store. That's the 6th time we've had a masla message. So then my sister calls and says, hey, Lee, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm at the store. I'm picking up masla for Mom for Christmas or for Thanksgiving. That's the 7th masla message we've had. Well, why? What? And I said, Mom couldn't find masla. Oop, 8. So she asked me if I'd look for it. If you get a hold of her, would you let her know that I found masla? 9. Okay, I'll tell her. So my sister calls her, can't get a hold of her, leaves a voicemail. Mom, Lee found masla. Oops, 10. So see how getting that message is just one message, we need masla, has been transmitted 10, 11, 12, multiple times throughout the day. Does that mean that masla is imminent or that Thanksgiving dinner is imminent? Doesn't have any meaning other than the fact that we're looking for masla. And no, it doesn't. So there were 3 messages passed this day. And that channel, emergency alert channel, had everybody up in a tiff, that it was a super duper day that something critical was going to happen, war was imminent, because there were over 60 EAMs passed that day. In reality, there were only 3. So we see bar candy. We don't know what these single passages of 6-digit or 6-character messages are. That could be some sort of short code. We do see it occasionally. It's not frequent. Don't know what it means, but it could just be a separate code system. At 21:45, all these, by the way, are in Zulu time. It's just a habit we do in SIGINT. We always do everything in Zulu. So at 21:45 Zulu, rare coin passed message, Charlie 6 November, Oscar Golf Zulu. This is a 30-character message. Then right afterwards at 21:47, rare coin passed Alpha Romeo Zulu X-Ray Foxtrot Uniform, which is a 60-character message. Then at 21:52, rare coin passed Alpha Romeo Quebec Yankee Uniform Hotel, which is a 67-character message. So we've got a 30, a 60, and an 87-character message. This is just notes because I was listening to another video on notes I want to take notes on. At 22:15, rare coin passes Charlie 6 November Oscar Golf Zulu again. Then they pass it again at 00:45, then again at 01:14, then again at 02:03. Then Manfish passes it. All 3 messages we'll talk about at 01:32. Then Manfish transmits again at 0200. So during this 2-hour time frame, that message, Charlie 6 November Oscar Golf Zulu, a 30-character message, was passed 7 times. Okay, now then, at 21:52 Zulu, rare coin passes Alpha Romeo Quebec Yankee Uniform Hotel. Passes that same message again, it's a resend, at 23:15. Passes it again at 00:52, at 01:20, at 02:07, and again at 02:35. So that message, Alpha Romeo Quebec Yankee Uniform Hotel, gets passed a total of 7 times in this 2-hour period. Then we have Alpha Romeo Zulu X-Ray Foxtrot Uniform is passed a total of 5 times. Once by rare coin at 23:15, again at 00:50, again at 01:17. It gets passed as part of a multiple retest or resend here at 01:32 by Manfish. So we see that gets transmitted 5 times. So we've got a total here of 19 transmissions, okay, which is what was being reported on that emergency alert channel as 19 EAMs. In reality, it's 3. They just didn't QSL, which is the signal's way of saying I acknowledge receipt. Okay, so that's that one. Then of course we have this one, 11:15. Rare coin does Alpha Romeo Quebec Yankee Uniform Hotel. Notice that that's the same one that we have over here the following day. Same message. So it's being passed over 2 different days. We also have Alpha Romeo Hotel X-Ray Foxtrot Alpha, 115 characters. So that's passed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Then Alpha Romeo Mike Bravo Romeo 8 gets sent by Coinfish, gets sent by Rare Coin. Who else? That's it. Then we have Alpha Romeo Whiskey X-Ray Papa Oscar gets sent twice. And that's a 30-character message. So my point in all this is don't let people get you in a tiff over something they don't know anything about. And by don't know anything about, I mean, we really don't know what the contents are. We don't know the significance of them. We don't know if it's raising or lowering a Defcon. We don't know if it's repositioning assets. We don't know if they're arming them, disarming them. We have no idea what's going on. By the traffic count, we have no idea what's going on because we don't know if it's a test or an exercise of the real world. So I would say take it for what it's worth. If you enjoy copying code, if you enjoy copying it, whether it be NATO phonetics or Russian phonetics, go ahead and copy it for the fun. I mean, it's fun to do it. And then when they retransmit to see if you made any mistakes. So do it for the fun of it. But don't do it and get your hair all in a tuft over it because it really, to us as outsiders, means nothing. And to say that there were 87 messages when in reality there were 3 and get people in a tiff over that is, in my opinion, criminal. Okay? So that's it. Those are emergency action messages. Remember that we're all in this together, so we can come out the other side together. Please be kind, polite, and respectful to each other, because togetherness is the key. Take care. Bye-bye.